Week 12 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers this week. The first quarterback, Shedeur Sanders of the Cleveland Browns. Sanders, he's out there in tons of fantasy leagues, 97%, making his first career NFL start. And obviously a lot of controversy with him coming out where he was supposed to be a first rounder in most mock drafts, and he didn't fall to the fifth round. And obviously it's something against Shedeur coming into the league. So last week we saw him in relief after Dillon Gabriel went down with a concussion, 47 pass yards, an interception, which should have been 2 in that game, and 16 rush yards. So he's got some mobility. Shedeur Sanders this week is a good matchup at the Vegas Raiders, where their defense can't stop anyone. And we just saw the Raiders give up 33 points to the Dallas Cowboys. So there's definitely going to be some growing pains for Shedeur Sanders if he's the starter the remainder of the season. But if you're in deeper leagues, 2 quarterback leagues, and need a sleeper, I think going off this matchup and with some rushing upside for Sanders, he could be a decent sleeper this week. The next quarterback, Bryce Young of the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young last week went out there and arguably had the best game of his NFL career, and he's still out there now in 83% of fantasy leagues. So the last few games here for Young, besides the one big one last week, he hasn't done much in the last month of the season. Week 9 at Green Bay, 102 pass yards, interception, 9 rush yards. Week 10 versus New Orleans, 124 pass yards, interception, 6 rush yards, a fumble loss. In Week 11 at Atlanta, like I said, he popped off for a big game, 448 pass yards, 3 touchdowns in that ball game, and a 2-point conversion. And he also got banged up with the ankle injury in that game, was Bryce Young. So like I said, him and Tator McMillan hit on a few big plays. Xavier Legette even found the end zone. And when you got a running back like Rico Dowdle, it could open things up a little bit for an offense. And that's exactly what happened in last week's game, even though they were chasing points a majority of it. So this week, I know it's a tougher matchup versus the 49ers, even though Bosa and Fred Warner, they're out for the season. I still think Young could go out there and help fantasy owners in deeper leagues. And the final quarterback I have as a sleeper this week is Kirk Cousins of the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins now going to be the starter the remainder of the season. A partially torn ACL. It is for Michael Penix, unfortunately, and he's going to miss 9 months and most likely the beginning of next season as well, I would think, for this Atlanta Falcon team. And last season, Cousins, in the beginning of the year, he looked decent for Atlanta, and then the second half of the year, he really couldn't do much. This season, Cousins, it wasn't a great year for him. 3,508 pass yards, 18 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, and 2 fumble losses. In the few games he appeared in the season, Week 3 at Carolina, 29 pass yards. Week 8 versus Miami, he started that game and played in full, 173 pass yards, 2 rush yards in that one. And Week 11 versus the Panthers in relief for Michael Penix, 48 pass yards in that game. So this week, not a bad matchup on paper at the New Orleans Saints. We know they're one of the worst teams in the league, but believe it or not, they give up the 17th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. And down Drake London in this game, it's going to be a little tough for Kirk Cousins, but I think Bijan Robinson will be more of a factor in the receiving game, and also Kyle Pitts will get targeted a little bit. So Kirk Cousins this week, if you need a sleepers out there in 94% of fantasy leagues, that's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers for Week 12 of the fantasy football season.